Hello, today I am going to show you how to make this cute crossbody bag out of a pair of old jeans. It has one interior pocket and two outer pockets using the pockets from the jeans. This bag measures 10 inches wide, 3 inches deep, and 10.5 inches tall. And it has a cotton webbing strap, a fully adjustable. So let's get started. I've already cut the legs off of the jeans, and I am cutting up this large seam so we have one big piece of fabric. And I will also do the same for the lining fabric. Now this is a pair of linen women's dress pants. So cut up that seam so you have one big piece of fabric, and iron them out to make them nice and flat before we cut them out. And once we have them ironed, I'm going to use my quilter's ruler and I'm going to line up the center seam, and we need to cut these all 4 pieces out at 12 inches by 12 inches. So we have 4 pieces. Next, I am going to iron on the interfacing. I am using a fusible fleece. There is a rough side and a smooth side. You want to put your fabric face up on the rough side of the interfacing and iron that on to both denim pieces. Once those pieces are ironed on, we don't need to worry about the lining. I am not using it on that. I'm going to take my smaller quilter's ruler and I am going to mark a square on all corners at 1.5 inches. This creates the boxed corners. So I do that on both denim pieces and both of the lining pieces. And when you cut these out, make sure not to don't extend your scissor cut on the squares. Keep them as close to the corner as you possibly can. That just makes a cleaner edge when we sew those together. Now that I have all 4 pieces cut with the corners out of them, I'm going to attach the 2 denim pockets from the jeans onto the front 2 sides of the bag. And these are easy to take off of your jeans. Just take your seam ripper and that little ball end, put it to the inside of the seam, and you should easily be able to take the pockets right off of the back. So once they're both off of there, we can line them up to the front sides of the jeans. And the bottom part, you want to make sure to leave yourself enough room for the seam, because that's going to be our bottom. You don't want your pocket going below that. So I just put my ruler down there just as a guide and center that up. Now every pair of jeans is going to have a little bit different size of a pocket. So just adjust yours to the most center that you can. I just eyeballed mine. I didn't measure them out. So you want to sew those on to each piece of your denim bag. And once those are sewed onto that, we are getting ready to put the zipper on. So take whichever zipper that you prefer to use. I buy a longer one because we're going to put a tail at the end. So make it at least 14 inches or longer. And you want to put your zipper right side down onto your denim. And I measure in 1.25 inches on each side to start, so you have enough room for your seam and our tab. And before you start sewing, you want to fold your zipper end down and then back up That's how I start my zippers. So lay your zipper face down, measure in that 1 1/4 inch, and I just clip my zipper right to the bag. If you have pins, you can pin it in there, whatever you prefer. And then when I get to the end, I take a marker, this is a friction pen, and I measure from that side in 1 1/4 inches, and I put a mark there. That's where I know to stop sewing. And you can go ahead and make a mark on the other side of the zipper. That way you have them both at the same length. And using a zipper foot, sew all the way down to that end. And once that's sewn on, you can cut that little tab off if you have extra, and close your zipper up, and we're ready to attach it to the other side. Now the easiest way I find to line up your zipper is to put the two pieces right sides together, line your edges up even, and if you pull your fabric down just a little bit, your zipper will kind of pop out, and that way you can get it to the exact spot that you need. I just find that easier, and you just clip it down, and we have our mark there as a starting point, and we can sew across. And when you get to the end where the zipper pull is, you're going to want to open your zipper up because it's going to get in the way. So we're ready to sew those together. Now that we have those done, make sure your zipper works correctly. Now we need to sew these two pieces together, and you want to leave that zipper open at least halfway, because once we sew these pieces together, you're not going to be able to turn it inside out unless you leave that open. So put your pieces together, get your zipper out of the way. You don't want to sew that into your side seam right there, so leave that out the way, and clip all the way around the three sides. And you can do the same for your lining pieces as well. Same thing, line up your edges, clip it all around, and sew on all three sides. Now that we have our lining piece and our main bag sewn together on all three sides, we need to iron the seams open and flat. So do that on your lining piece and your main bag piece. Open those up and iron them flat. And we are ready to sew the boxed corners together. You want to open your pieces up, and we want to line up the bottom seam to the side seam on each side. You can peel that open and make sure your seams are lining up, and just close that shut. Put a clip in there and do that to all four corners. And I sew all mine at 3/8 of an inch, no matter what seam I'm using. That's a good one for me. So now that we have those boxed corners done, we can turn the bag right side out, leave your lining inside out, and push your corners out. Now we are ready to make our tabs for our handle straps. I cut my pieces at 4 inches by 3 3/4 inches, and we will need 2 of those. And we need to fold those over at the 4-inch length. So when you fold it in half, it's 2 inches. Open that up, fold it again, and then turn it around and fold it again, and then finally fold it all together. That way we have a 1-inch strip And you want to sew on both sides of those. And those will be the tabs that we will thread our D-rings onto. So put those together, and I just put a clip in mine to hold them in place. Now we're ready to put the bag into our lining. So right sides together. Push that bag down into your lining. Push it as far down as you can get, all the way to those edges, raw edges meet. And you want to make sure your side seams are lining up. So I take my tab and push it down into the bag, and I line it up to just one side at a time. So I peel it back, make sure it's in the center of that seam, clip it on there, and then I take the lining piece and I line it up to the tab. So you want to do that on both sides. And for this side where the zipper is, make sure you shove it down into the bag. And I clip those long ends. I fold them down and then clip them out of my way. You don't want to sew that into, get that zipper sewn in. And again, do the same thing to that tab, line it up, make sure it's even. And then you want to put clips all the way around the bag. And you're going to sew that again with the zipper foot as close as you can all the way around the bag. Now that our bag is all sewn together at the top, we need to open up this side seam so we can turn our bag right side out. So I take the seam ripper and pull a few of those stitches out, making sure not to cut the fabric at the seam, and leave yourself a couple inches from the top and the bottom. Once you have that open, you can pull the bag through that opening and it will be right side out. Your lining will stick out from the top. And once that's all turned inside out, make sure that there are no loose threads where your zipper is. They will get caught up into it, so you can just pull on them and cut them right off. Now we're ready to close up that side seam. And you just put the folded pieces together. And I do a very scant 1/4 inch seam on this opening. And if you happen to have any labels, these are the ones that I had made for all the bags I make. You can insert a label. If you don't have any labels, again, just create a 1/4 inch, a scant 1/4 inch seam, and just top stitch that all the way down. There our bag is all closed up on the side. And you can push your lining down into the bag. And I hit it with the iron just to get it flattened. And we want to top stitch all the way around the bag, making sure to keep your zipper and your tabs out of the way as you sew through. And when you get to the tabs, if your fabric is real thick, I always slow down and hand crank my machine. That way it doesn't get caught or break your needle on your sewing machine. So just top stitch that through. As you're sewing this, make sure to keep your lining taut and pulled away from your zipper. That way you don't get a buckling in it. Now that we have that top stitch, we are ready to make the tab for the zipper. So I usually leave about a 2-inch tail, and I take it to the machine and I sew it back and forth, but be careful sewing through that zipper. Again, your needle will break. So our tab pieces are 2.5 inches by 3.25 inches, and you want to sew those pieces together and create a tube. Once that's sewn, you can turn it inside out and fold under about 1/4 inch and slide that piece right over the zipper, and I stitch it straight across twice, but be very careful sewing through your tab on there. You don't want to hit that zipper. So once that is sewn on, you can open it up, make sure it's working correctly, and we are ready to attach the strap. I always use a 1-inch cotton webbing strap, and I cut mine to 55 inches long. And this is the hardware that creates the adjustable strap. And you want to take your webbing and thread it through the bottom, up through the top, pull your tab down, and leave at least 1.5 inch tail on that. And you want to sew a square around there so it attaches that buckle to your strap. And we want to take the rest of the strap and thread it through the D-ring from the inside to the outside. And not twisting your strap, thread it through the bottom of that buckle and pull the other fabric down if needed, and thread that through and pull your strap down and make sure that that is on your bag just like that. That's the inside. And keep your strap straight and thread the other end from the outside to the inside. And leave that end about 1.5 inches, about the same as that other side, and sew a square around that. And I just put a clip in there to hold that in place, take it to the machine and sew that on. Make sure that your strap is the correct orientation and you're ready to sew. And once you sew that piece onto the bag, you are finished. Our crossbody denim bag is complete. Fully adjustable strap. Make it as long or short as you wish. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It is my first sewing tutorial, and I hope you will give this bag a try. I like the idea of repurposing old clothes into a new item. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.